Frame it in focus. Click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, Sports Channel, on Coffee, or the various other, Telegram, Gab, and the various other links. So this is from Ack Nation, who's on YouTube. He went through the video of that little Syracuse kid who was caught stealing some chips and put in the back of a patrol car and taken home to his mom, which is pretty well standard practice for anyone. And all the people immediately on social media are just losing their rag over it, but they didn't stop and listen to the actual audio of the video, where you would have found out that the kid was known to the cops. He had a history of stealing. They had had interactions with him before. The store owners had interactions with him. He was a known thief in the neighborhood, and it was pretty reasonable. The two black guys come along with their cameras out, filming vertically is the real crime, and they start yelling like low IQ idiots that they legitimately are. So they go, the theme is, police always escalate situations. Sure, sometimes they do, but these two low IQ idiots come up on the scene. They don't know what's going on, and they see a kid crying, and they see a police holding the kid and then putting the kid in the back of the car. And that's all they see. It's like, the kid's not being taken to Guantanamo. He's not going to get waterboarded. He's not being taken to jail or prison or even to Child Protective Services. They don't know what's going on, but they just start yelling and start screaming nonsense at escalating the situation. And it was a good thing the area was so kind of desolate, actually, and was pretty well empty, that they couldn't, they were trying to gather a crowd if there was a crowd to be gathered, which is why people in the background go, why does it take so many police? And I'm by no means on the side of the police. I'm on the side of having better police, but I'm also realistic. I look at, there's a lot of idiots out there on both sides of the equation. Police need to be held accountable for sure, but there's a lot of idiots like these two guys who walk up with cameras and don't know the situation, and they try to escalate a situation that is being handled pretty reasonably. There's a kid crying because he was stopped by the police for stealing. He'd been stopped before repeatedly. He's like 8 or 10 years old or something. There's not a whole lot you can do with a kid like that. But a crying kid is not casus belli. It's not your cause of war to start a riot, because a crying kid is being dealt with by the police, and he's not being hit. He's not being yelled at. He's just being put in the back of the police car and driven to his parents' house. That's the whole situation. There's nothing to get worked up about. But these guys wanted to get worked up about something. They want to be internet famous, to be fair. And hey, there's nothing wrong with filming police. Absolutely, go ahead, film police. But you didn't have to come in that situation and act the way you did. Anyway, so the plot twist to this, the short version of this, why this video is probably going to be in and out in the media in a day, if not already, is a kid was arrested 2 days later for allegedly using a knife to threaten another child and steal their bicycle. The same kid. The same kid who did that. Allegedly. Everyone's entitled to due process. No problem. With this situation, too. I mean, just because the kid's, he's known to the police as a thief doesn't mean it's true. Everyone gets due process. But, 2 days later, allegedly using a knife to steal a bike. So now the kid's ended up in the court system, and now this is probably going to be in and out of the media, because every example, the left uses, who was that, LaQuifa James, that basketball player guy, who, there's a girl about to get another girl, and the POC community on Twitter, on Black Twitter, was saying that, this is just kind of part and parcel of the community. This is knife fights were common when we were growing up. And you're like, it's not a knife fight. There's only one girl with a knife. It's an attack. A knife fight implies two people consent to enter mutual combat. This one girl has a knife and she's about to gut another girl, and actually her father was standing by watching. It's the most bizarre. It's like dealing with children. But who have adult bodies. It's the most bizarre thing. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. Anyway, so that's that story. You go, that story. The LeBron James go accountability, and you're next, and threatening a cop who saved somebody's life. That's genius, LeBron. The reason that story was in and out of the news in 2 days is because 2 or 3 days later, another little black girl actually did the exact same thing with a knife to another black girl, and actually deleted her. So it's the exact same scenario. One little black girl with a knife deleted another little black girl. That's why that story was in and out of the media. So all these champions, these people use on the left, it doesn't matter. It could be like this little kid who was arrested 2 days later. I don't know who the LeBron James situation, or various other George Floyd. Isn't he the same guy who did a home invasion on a woman's house? Yeah, but now we have icons to St. George. That doesn't seem like to me like that's a society that's headed for any kind of longevity. Probably because it's not. So America is in deep waters. Just keeping it 100 with you. The media is actively the enemy of the people. They don't report the news. Let me see if I can play this without getting hit from Mac Nation. They don't report the news. They create the news. People are not outraged over a crying kid who was handled very reasonably. The negligence standard is what would a reasonably prudent person do under similar circumstances. The store owner had a thief, called the cops, held the thief as he is legally entitled to do, and the police took him to his parents' house and talked to the parents. That's a reasonable, civilized society. There's the kid was crying, but a crying kid, he wasn't crying when he was stealing those chips. And we're not stupid. We know what this kid has on the future for him, and his future is not a good one. The media is making low IQ people outraged over absolutely nothing. A crying kid who was known to the cops as a thief, they took him home to his parents. It's a perfectly normal response. Imagine if the two black guys who rolled up didn't immediately. You can watch the various clips on YouTube. There's two clips. The cell phone clips that the two black guys loaded themselves, and then there's the body cam footage from the cops, which actually shows a better perspective because it shows the two guys who were filming who were just outraged. It was a Pavlovian response of seeing cops and his crying kid. Except the kid wasn't handcuffed. He wasn't hurt anyway. He was just being held because he was going to run off, probably on a stolen bicycle. And the two kids were acting like just little animals running around, just going crazy. The other kid was they're both screaming at the cops. They're just acting like idiots. And then you see these two guys who roll up, and these two adults who were filming, they're screaming and acting like idiots. And you go oh, this is just fucking hopeless. This is just a cycle of people who, don't have a different standard for what civilized behavior is in a functional society. Imagine if the media was calm about this. Imagine if the two guys walked out, say they were filming, just in case, you never know what's going to happen. Filming, go for it. First Amendment protected activity. Film the cops, film whatever you want in public space. That's fine. But imagine if they weren't coming at it from the perspective of, if they just said, hey, what's going on? And the thing is, the cops are in a tricky situation because they can't publicly disclose private facts about a minor. But the situation is a little bit different now because you want to forestall a riot as much as possible. So you'd probably sidestep several rules, and you go, allegedly the store owner caught a thief, and we're taking him to his parents. And that calms everyone down, and that should be the end of a civilization. That should be the end of the situation. But that's what happens in a civilized society. And it's like you got people who don't want to make this society work. They want to pour oxygen into this engine and just make things as crazy as possible. And at this point, how do I carefully say this on YouTube? I think we got to stop taking low IQ idiots seriously. You can't treat them as you can't treat them in the same way you treat everyone else, because you're just dealing with people who are to the left of the bell curve. And then the second thing is you probably want to separate into different regions or states for people who want to live a certain way. Like if you want to live in a society where kids can steal from stores or girls can stab other girls, and that's part and parcel of your society, well, we need to do that de facto and de jure, where you have your own legal system set up, your own ways and manners of doing things that is acceptable to you. And here's the thing. That's not going to be acceptable to their society. There's no nation where that's acceptable. Where, in fact, if you want to talk about the origin nations, the redress of grievance is actually much harsher, much more brutal, and much more of a corporal nature. So this is all nonsense. This is all BS right from the start. But I do think continuing this pathway of multiple groups living together side by side, where you have European cops dealing with non-European people and they have different standards. It's clearly not working. Clearly not working. You know what I'm saying there. As far as I can go for YouTube. But comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.